What's in a name? We're going to find out the answer for one couple in today's edition of CNN Student News. From the CNN Center in Atlanta, I'm Carl Azus. Pakistan. The country's a partner with the U.S. in the war on terror. It's also dealing with terrorist attacks inside its own borders. That point made clear in yet another violent assault yesterday. Government officials say an explosion in the country's Swat Valley, that's in the northern part of Pakistan, killed at least 40 people, wounded at least 45 more. The blast took place at a security checkpoint. Authorities say the target was a military vehicle. Taliban forces took control of the Swat Valley earlier this year, leading to a number of intense clashes with the Pakistani military. Monday's attack, the latest in a string of violence in the country, including a 22-hour standoff over the weekend when militants took hostages at an army base. Back in the U.S., everyone watching the debate over health care reform has their attention focused on the Senate Finance Committee today. That is because the group is voting on a health care bill, and this is the last committee vote before the issue moves to the full House and Senate. The bill that the Senate Finance Committee is considering is referred to as the Baucus Plan, named for Senator Max Baucus, who heads up the committee. It's a 10-year plan that would cost the government $829 billion. But a new report says that American families would have to pay a hefty price as well. America's Health Insurance Plan says that under the Baucus bill, the amount that families pay for health care would go up 111% by 2019. The group says that under the current system, costs would go up 79%. A White House spokesman says the report is inaccurate and self-serving. He points out that it was created by the insurance industry, which he calls one of the biggest opponents of health insurance reform.
Is this legit? There is a Nobel Prize for Economics. Legit. The award for economics was created in 1968, adding to the existing Nobel Prizes for physics, chemistry, medicine, literature, and peace.
In the 40 years since the Nobel Prize for Economics was established, the winners had all been men. That changed yesterday when Elinor Ostrom was named one of the recipients of this year's award. The other winner is Oliver Williamson, both of them experts in how the economy and businesses are regulated. Ostrom told reporters that when she first decided to pursue a postgraduate degree, she was told that no major university would even think of hiring a woman. She's proof times have changed.
I think we're we've already entered a new era, and we recognize that women have the capabilities of doing great scientific work. And yes, I appreciate that this is an honor to be the first woman, but I won't be the last.
Well, sticking with financial news, more than 80% of the country's top economists believe the recession is over. That's based on a survey done by the National Association for Business Economics. However, most economists think it could take months before there's any kind of serious improvement in terms of the housing market or job losses. The unemployment rate is expected to hit 10% between now and the end of the year, and to stay at that level through the first 3 months of 2010. And looking overseas, that is where you will find Secretary of State Hillary Clinton. She is on a 6-day trip to parts of Europe and Russia, addressing issues like arms control, healthcare, and some long-running conflicts. Jill Doherty checks in from a stop in the UK, where Secretary Clinton was focused on the relationship between the U.S. and one of its closest allies.
Were the handshakes with the Foreign Secretary a little firmer, the smiles broader, the hugs and kisses with the Prime Minister warmer than usual? It seemed that way as Hillary Clinton put America and Great Britain's special relationship on display.
It is a special relationship. I have a special personal relationship with the Prime Minister, and of course, I think it can't be said often enough, we have a special relationship between our countries.
Her mission, calm concerns in London that the Obama administration's relationship with the government of Prime Minister Gordon Brown may be cooling. But on a range of international issues, there's no daylight between the two countries.
Decisions about the future of Iran are up to the Iranian people, but we will continue to speak out on behalf of human rights, on behalf of democracy, on behalf of freedom of expression.
Our insistence that it is not for us to choose the government of Iran is clear, but also our insistence that it's right to stand up for human rights around the world, for universal values, is also very clear.
At Secretary Clinton's next stops here in Dublin and then in Belfast, she highlighted another aspect of the special relationship, the Northern Ireland peace process.
Many people who are despairing over the prospects of peace look to Northern Ireland. They think to themselves that, if it could be done there, then perhaps we too have a chance to try to cross that border between conflict and peace and chart a different future for ourselves and our children.
Time for the shout out. What is the world's most popular sport? If you think you know it, shout it out. Is it baseball, soccer, basketball, or cricket? You've got 3 seconds. Go. The most popular sport in the world is soccer. Ain't that a kick? That's your answer, and that's your shout out.
And next June, the soccer world will be focused on South Africa when that country hosts the World Cup. Imagine if the Super Bowl included teams from around the world and only happened once every 4 years. That gives you an idea of how huge the World Cup is. Robin Curnow shows us how South Africa is preparing for the soccer spotlight.
Watered and protected from the hot South African sun, these are the first green shoots growing on the pitch where the opening game of the World Cup will kick off in June next year. Stadiums across the country will be ready by early next year, say FIFA officials, who, with clipboards in hand, have just inspected all of the match venues. So while all of these stadiums are on track to be completed ahead of time, despite workers downing tools and going on strike a few months ago, there still is a lot more work to be done to ensure that FIFA is satisfied.
But for the time being, let us be with 7.5.
That's the score FIFA President Sepp Blatter gave South Africa for the Confederations Cup, played here in July and which was seen as a test case for the South Africans. FIFA and South Africa are all too aware of where the problems were and where they remain.
And the areas that we have been focusing on is accommodation, transportation and security. Those were the 3 key areas.
The organising committee here concedes if there are big matches at small town stadiums like this one in Rustenburg, there simply will not be enough places for fans to sleep.
In some of our host cities, we won't have sufficient beds, and therefore it means that we'll have to go outside those host cities.
Also, transport remains a headache. The system is haphazard, irregular and often unsafe. A new bus transit system in Johannesburg has started running, but its routes are limited. Other towns have little or no organised transport systems. Getting from host city to host city, most fans will have to rely on South Africa's well-developed air network. The Johannesburg airport will be open 24 hours, and much has been spent on upgrading its facilities, including managing and protecting the estimated 40,000 pieces of luggage expected through here a day.
If we're at the World Cup in December, we will be already on top of the situation. We are ready.
Police say they'll also be ready to protect 500,000 fans travelling here next year. Robin Curnow, CNN, Johannesburg, South Africa.
Before we go, if you love your name so much, why don't you marry it? Okay. We'd like to introduce you to Kelly Hildebrandt and her fiancé, Kelly Hildebrandt. The couple met online with Kelly, the female Kelly, searched for her own name, and Kelly, the male Kelly, was the only person who came up. Coincidence led to courtship. Now the two are getting married. You could call it fate, call it karma, or if you want to confuse them, just call the house and ask for Kelly. That's the best we got. Commercial-free news is the name of the game. We'll be back with more tomorrow. See you then.